think.
Yeah. Okay, Rob, first of all, congratulations obviously with the win on Sale. That means it is 12 months since your last home defeat. It has turned into a bit of a fortress, hasn't it?
Yeah, and obviously that's what you always want to try and achieve for all the competitions you're involved in, because obviously it just gives you a big foothold and a great foundation for each season. So obviously we're really pleased with it. It's something we've talked a lot about. We think that everything that we're doing here, both the development of the team, and the stadium and our supporter base and the way the supporters kind of getting behind the team, I think the whole thing is something that we should really aspire to doing on a regular basis, because it's kind of the blueprint for being a successful side. Is your home ground is somewhere where other people don't want to come, and where you feel very comfortable, and where you start to expect to win games. Well, it's still early days. I mean, so we're 7 games in, and there's still plenty of tough games for us to come where 1-point losses may not be very poor results for us. So we don't know if we've eradicated them yet. But what we're seeing is just a good level of performance at the moment. We're managing to deal with some relatively long-term injuries to some core players, which is showing the strength of the squad and probably the understanding of our game plan amongst the squad. And probably that we're just getting more and more comfortable with being in the Premiership and playing in higher pressure situations. It's not something that's ever going to happen overnight, and we've still got a fair way to go. And as I've said, the proof of the pudding isn't now; it's where we'll be at the end of the season. Now we've got to get used to dealing with the pressure of being up to the top and everything after us, because we're above them. It's a different challenge for us now over the next few weeks, and it's one we've got to make sure we relish and enjoy.
Northampton Saints on New Year's Day, still a very good team, but are they still quite the force they were last season, do you feel?
Well, I mean, results would say that they're having a little bit of a down patch. But I think traditionally, if you look at the teams that tend to end up in around that top 4, and Northampton are one of those, they tend to be able to deal with sticky patches. And I think that's the quality, and that's something that we still aspire to becoming. Is dealing with little sticky patches and still coming through strongly enough to be challenging at the right end of the table. So for me, there's still a lot of the same individuals who've been there when they've been a top 4 side. There's still a lot of individuals who've been there when they've won the Premiership. So in a lot of ways, it's hard for me to say. Their results have been pretty tight. It's not like they're getting beaten by a large margin, and I imagine they're kind of waiting for things to click, and they're waiting for that moment when the season starts to get up and running for them. And what we have to try and do is not focus too much on hoping that Northampton are poor on the day, but make sure we focus on being very good ourselves. Because ultimately, if you ever go to a Premiership club and you're hoping that they play badly, then you've already got your mental side of the game completely wrong. We've been talking and preparing in the way that we're expecting a backlash from them, and we have to be right at the top of our game if we want to get anything out of our visit.
Which is rugby down to being a well-oiled team? Because obviously, if things start to go wrong somewhere, then you start tinkering there, all of a sudden, perhaps where you've moved things around start to go wrong. How difficult balancing act is that?
It is relatively difficult, because obviously what you want to do is you try and find a formula or systems or game plans that work for you, but ultimately they tend to need developing or tinkering with or changing, as you say, over a period of time, because other people get used to them, and other people start to adapt what you do very well, and they start to adapt how to defend you, and probably over a period of 2-3 seasons, your personnel change as well. And I think that's probably what's happening a little bit in Northampton. They're going through a little bit of a transition period, perhaps. It's not really for me to say, but perhaps on how they want to play, how they want to develop their game. And it might be that they're very comfortable at the moment, taking a few close losses as they develop their game and move forward, perhaps with a different style of play and what they want to achieve 3-4 months down the line. So I think a lot of people sometimes assume that if a team loses a couple of games, that everything's going wrong. Often you have to go through those kind of periods. We've done it ourselves here. We challenged the players in a different way a couple of years ago. We had some sticky Premiership games. Although we ended up winning the OV Cup, actually we had a pretty poor Premiership season. But we've actually come through that in the last 2 seasons. The last season and where we are at the moment would currently suggest that as doing things slightly differently a couple of years ago is now paying dividends, and that may well be what Northampton are going through. But as I say, what we've got to make sure we do is that we focus on ourselves, what we want to achieve out of the game. We know we're going to have to be very good, because it doesn't really matter where Northampton are in the league. If you want to win at Franklin's Gardens, you've got to be good, and those are things we can control. We can't control how Northampton are going to train this week or how they're going to turn up, but we can control how we train and the mental state we turn up in.
Obviously the top 4 is the ultimate target, but does it matter whether you finish 1, 2, 3 or 4?
We've been saying for quite a while, you know, we're looking to build on being a regular top 6 side, and then a good season and a couple of big performances will push you into that top 4. Ultimately, yeah, I mean, it does matter a little bit because obviously in the top 2 you get that first round, you get it at home, which is obviously important. But for us, the experience we're looking to build on and the experiences we want to have in the future, anywhere in around the top 4 would be fantastic for us and will be a great experience. And all we're going to do is not get too carried away with all of that. You know, if we focus on week by week performances, week by week selections, getting the players in the right physical and mental state of mind week by week, you know, that's how we'll thrive. You know, I'm quite interested and looking forward to seeing how the boys get on with people talking about us as nice as they are, and with us being a team that's around the 1st and 2nd and 3rd place in the Premiership. I think it's fantastic, and you know, I want to see if our players thrive or if they feel under a bit of pressure, because you know that's ultimately what they have to get used to. They have to get used to being in and around there for long periods of the season if we want to ever become a successful team.
How are you looking injury-wise?
Well, as usual, we're picking up bumps and bruises and bangs, but I think you just got to roll with the punches. I mean, Damien Welsh's injury looks like it's likely to be a bit more significant than we first hoped. So he's having an operation today. He's likely to be out for a decent while. Other than that, it was just bumps and bruises at the weekend. Sam Hill's ankle doesn't look too bad, although we've got a full prognosis later on today.
Just remind me the Damien injury?
It's a pectoral muscle injury.